No, by the way, I have a bigger topic for you. Forget the whole should Los Ratones be in LEC. The obvious person this win brings the narrative back for is, look, to me, I agree with Rich, it's actually Crowny, but let's do Nemesis since he's the big name, right? Nemesis is obviously a giant name because he's been in Korea all these years streaming. People have literally watched him on stream, play Chovy and all these top players. And so everyone does that thing I've always said where they're his fans. I don't know if he does it. I don't watch enough of his stream, but his fans definitely do always make it sound, bro, like he's even better because he plays in Korea, even though, by the way, he hasn't played in LEC since 2020. I always tell people that. It's fucking ages ago. Like, here's the analogy for you guys. You know when you were always like, Thorin never shuts the fuck up about Froggen. Yeah, that was like 1 or 2 years after he was really good. Nemesis hasn't played in LEC in fucking 4+ years. Like, you're so out of date on your narrative. So their logic goes, yeah, but he's gotten better because he played solo queue. And they want to make it sound like he would instantly be at like Caps's level or like, you know, one fucking... I'll say that one Nemesis's hair below Chovy. They believe that's like how good he would be, right? The question I obviously have is what you actually think he would be like. Because in this tournament, remember, if Los Ratones are gods, you would have thought they'd sweep everyone. When they played the fucking Carmine Court blue team, this guy got fucking work from that fucking slow queue guy who half of you think plays for Flying Oyster. That's just a name joke again there. It's all good. Look it up. Look at you still don't know who the Flying Oyster midlaner is. Stop pretending, all you fake fucks out there. You don't know that. You just remember Doggo. We all know that. And Junjia. So he had the loss there, and then obviously later on in the tournament, it was awesome in the finals. He was smurfing on everyone. If Nemesis played in the LEC, what are your thoughts? How would he do? Does he look eye test wise like he'd be really good? What do you think?
I wouldn't put him above the big three. The big three being like Humanoid, Vladi, and Caps. Like, I think that's just impossible to do. I do think as a player, in terms of like how he lanes and how he plays,
your match means it's impossible to put him above those three. Not it's impossible for him to be as good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like currently, it's just like without him competing in the league, like the gameplay is just different. Yes. I think that it's like what's so impressive and also like a big plus for Nemesis is that we get to see every aspect of his play. Right. It's like we get to see how he manages the team and how he gives information, gives input, and makes sure like that the team moves in the right direction. I think that for this team, he does a lot of work to let Velia play the way he does. It's kind of like, it's like the parallel, people are going to run away with it, but the parallel is very similar to how T1 played last year, is very similar to how this team also functions. It's like, if Velia likes to farm a lot, the same way Ona does, and then Baus and fucking Nemesis need to fucking figure out how to farm side on their own. And they need to be insanely precise, otherwise they get like flanked and ganked and they get collapsed on, which Faker and Zeus also always had to suffer because Owner loves to farm. And then Keria, meaning like Reckless, has a very peculiar champion pool. And if he is mobile and he can put vision down on his own with the Rakan and Bard and so forth, then it makes sense. But he was playing the melee supports. It wasn't really like working that well together because Velia and Reckless wouldn't really sync up much. So through that parallel, like the amount of work that Nemesis needs to do on this team for it to work, I have extreme amounts of like respect for that. Like we can clearly see, which is the benefit to Nemesis, we can see his intangibles, right? In the sense that these are things that we can't measure for other people. Right?
Yeah, of course, calling shit.
And I remember having this conversation. Like people would say, "Well, oh, look, Faker left T1 and now they're playing like shit." But it's like we will never know what happens to fucking Genji if they remove Chovy and put Poby in, or like what happens to Billy if they remove Knight. Like we never get to see those circumstances, right? There's like only one time you get to like measure that for a team, because obviously Poby was not a strong player. But in terms of like his skill and in terms of his lane phase and in terms of how good he can be, I can see him slot into top 5, top 4 in the LEC on the right team. Like in terms of just gameplay wise, like in terms of where the personality is and the ambition of everything, like that's always like the main challenge, right? Because it seemed like even though Nemesis would entertain playing the LEC, the teams that he would want to be on are teams that wouldn't want to work with, like to bring Nemesis in, right? And that's like usually sometimes when you have options, which I think is a great thing when you have options, it's like, oh, I can choose to stream rather than working on a team that I don't necessarily like believe in, right? So that's like the main benefit for him, and also like how I have and why I continue to be very busy in the off season, so I can fall back on something and not feel like I need to jump into the next team just to stay afloat. And I think this is the position Nemesis has been in. But I could easily see him top 4, top 5 in that pocket. I can see his experience and also his like level of individual play being above everybody. It's just the main thing that people kind of react to when I say this is that I think people have such a fucked up view of Humanoid because his floor is so memorable. So that's what people judge him for. Yes. But his average effort, and when you see him in regular season games, like make fun of Vladdy and Jackies and so forth, like the Humanoid is still really, really fucking good.
Yes.
And it requires very specific circumstances to break Humanoid's teams. And I think even in this playoff run, I think it's just so common that people like pile on Humanoid because that's what the meta is. And usually when a narrative happens, it usually sticks. And there's definitely moments where Humanoid deserves criticism, but I think the majority of that lies on my boy Razork when it comes to Fnatic's run in this playoffs, and Humanoid is still a fucking tough player that lost to Vladdy and Caps. It's like, and now we know these guys are just fucking great.
No, by the way, I'm with you. The problem Humanoid has in his career is when he isn't like, first of all, just the best mid laner or second best, people make it sound like he's having Hylissang splits and just inting. No, he's always been a top half mid laner, even his bad years, for fuck's sake. The point is, maybe he doesn't play his best at the regular split or he doesn't come on certain playoffs. That's true. But I'll tie this into the other example. The reason why I agree with you, you cannot in good faith put Nemesis above those three is because a mixture of the playoffs for Vladdy, just caps is caps, and then Humanoid in the regular split, they showed me enough against LEC competition. They've earned that top spot. Nemesis didn't play any top... I made a joke earlier. He played a guy called fucking Slowq and lost. Like, that doesn't mean he did it himself on his own. The team lost as well. But, like, when people are going to do this thing, this is what they're going to do with Nemesis. They're going to think, well, he was the best of all the teams in the RLs, and I'm looking with my eye test, and he's dunking on all these mids. So you're going to think, right, well, he's better than, like, Larson and Nuke. Can I see Larson and Nuke play against fucking Zero Tenacity and all these shit and no-name teams? Like, spoiler, I'm pretty sure they'd have some Smurf games too. Like, the joke is, I think Nuke's overrated, but I'll bet Nuke would be fucking amazing in the EMEA Masters. What are we talking about? This guy would fucking murk people at that level. He's looking not that good because he's playing against Vladdy, because he's playing against Humanoid. He's not like fucking losing to the shittest team in the league, is he? Like, he's still a top player. Larson's maybe a bit of the other side of it, but even then, mechanics alone would carry that guy in the RL level. So the obvious example here is my beloved Froggen. Remember when Froggen had been out of the game for a while and he played in EU Masters, that one where he played with Insec and Forgiven? People forget this, Yamato. That was the crop of Nemesis, Larson, Humanoid, and and Abadagir. That was when all those mid laners were coming up from the RLs, and the next year they were in LEC. And Froggen fucking ran over all of them, bro, and won the EU Masters. So by that logic, I should just go, he was all right. He was basically as good as Caps and Perks. Like, no, you have to temper it and know that playing at a lower level with lower stakes is different. And actually, one thing I'll give a lot of LEC pros credit for, because I've seen it, by the way, from the Sakans of the world. When they leave the LEC, where they sometimes have a bad time, they go and fucking dunk on people in the LFL in those leagues. Like, Sakan used to go back to the LFL and just be like the king of the fucking league and just be like, win a split here, win a split there, win a couple of EU Masters. Like, people just don't realize the difference between the two levels. It's not really like the top ERL team is like a playoff team in LEC. It's like, for all we know, they might even be like the second worst team if they're in the LEC. We wouldn't know. We'd have to see it. As usual, this is the saying that they have back in the day. The beauty of sports is you just have them play the games and then we'll know. So maybe in the future they buy the spot and they put this core in, it can work. But to bring it back to the Nemesis point, I actually did want to ask specifically about this. You've sort of led into it, mate. One thing I'm really confused about is the narrative I saw after Los Ratones won EMEA Masters went like this. It was like, what a shame to see Nemesis is so good when he's not been able to play in the LEC because of all those GMs and coaches. And I want to go, what? Mate, am I missing? Mate, you know things behind the scenes that I don't know, Yamato, about certain teams. Here's what I don't get. That's not at all the case as far as I know. As far as I know, this guy, in that like 4 years where he didn't play in the leagues, I've heard so many rosters, bro, where he was one of the names in the roster. And I've been told he's the one who chose not to do it. I think I heard that he was going to be in like a Cloud9 team at one point in time. There was like a Vitality super team with like Whippo or something he was going to be in. I've heard... For me, it's the other way around. I actually agree with what you said at the end. I got the vibe, and I've seen him say things that implied this to me on his stream and the odd stream clips I've seen. It was implied to me it was the other way around, Yamato. Because when he left, he'd been in that Fnatic that was like number 2 the whole time. It was implied to me that he'd only come back almost like Vegeta or something. Like he wanted some cracked out roster if he was ever going to play again. Almost on some like, I don't want to ruin my reputation, look bad at coming out after all these years. I never got this vibe that he was like, the difference is, from what I can tell you, Yamato, Crowny has been like soft blacklisted out of the LEC. Like no one wants this guy for some reason, or no one will pick him up, or Trimby, no one will give these guys a job. These are the players I want to see in the LEC, because I think they've been denied when they're actually good enough. I don't get the Nemesis one. As far as I knew, correct me if I'm wrong based on what you know, as far as I know, he basically chose not to play in the LEC. As far as I know, he would have been picked up. And by the way, I'm not taking it extreme. He doesn't have to play for SK Gaming. But as far as I know, we're talking like potentially top 3 or 4 rosters each time we're trying to sign him. As far as I know, he was the one saying no. I could be wrong on that one. Have you heard anything like that?
Okay, I heard about the Team Heretics one potentially with Whippo. I don't remember the reason why it fell through, right? I have respect for someone that has the ability to choose, right? Like he knows his own worth, and I think that if he really wanted to, he could have played in LEC the entire time for sure. Right? And there's different ways for you to grind your way up, right? It's the same with like Jankos. It's like Jankos created a circumstance where he can choose. It's like him not playing the LEC is not going to like ruin his career because he built that stream on the side to give himself as many options as possible. So like if Nemesis wanted to, I'm sure he could play, but probably like somewhere along the line, there would have been like splits or years where the team wouldn't be like a team would be like undeserving of him, right? It's like usually, it's like sometimes you see these moments where it's like, oh, this GM just managed to snag this fucking player. What the fuck? He just happens to be just the timing and he gets him. Damn, this player belongs on a better team. And then they like kind of slowly work their way up in a way. And Nemesis just said, oh, I don't want to fucking do that shit. Crowny on the other end, like Crowny, like he was ready to fucking join like some of the fucking worst teams in the league.
Oh, he's a grinder, isn't he? Yeah.
And he just wanted to fucking play and be in the LEC, and he was in a lot of fucking pain in regards to like how he was viewed as a player, especially after like the BDS situation. So he just waited and was looking for opportunities to play, but just couldn't get it. And then in the end, it's like when Los Ratones was like confirmed, like that was like a saving grace for Crowny. And this is a player that deserves so fucking much more than what he has. But that's something that can be said for many players because of like circumstantial things, poor GMing, and just like previous commitments. I always bring up the same guy but like what happened to Jizuke's career is fucking always gonna fucking bother me.
Yeah.
It's like you have a player who is fucking all pro, number 1 mid laner, runs the whole fucking league, losing in playoffs, sure, and then
even when he was at the end in Evil Geniuses, they only replaced him because they had Jojo Pion come in. He was still good in Evil Geniuses, mate. He was the win condition in that team.
Yeah, he was fucking smurfing it with Danny, and he was taking a big shit on everyone. It's like even Abedage, who fucking shit on Jizuke, like he fucking destroyed him in the games that they played. And Jizuke took an ERL offer because he didn't have any major region offer, got MVP in the LVP split that he played, and then he just fucking got tired. He just fucking pretty much just gave up. It's like, what else can I do? And for Crowny, I'm happy that he got this fucking opportunity because it's like he's very, very deserving. And like whatever form that takes, right, in terms of how you build your success in league, that can be very, very different. But I do think that being on Los Ratones is better than being in like 6-7 of the teams in the LEC. So like God bless, I'm happy for Crowny.
Right, I'll just run through a bunch of meme material here. So one, I also did see in EMEA Winter when I was looking at it, that you have that team that failed in the group stage, where actually Barcelona has a League of Legends team. It's called Barca Esports. And here's my little meme joke, which is, if you check a lad, you just can't get a break, Yamato. One, he also got kind of done a bit dirty when he came to LEC. And two, he's not even the best Polish person at Barcelona. They've got Lewandowski, if you don't know. He's third place of the ability. Whatever, it was just a fucking shit joke if you know sports. It's all good. Put that to one side.
Bro, you have a list of these? You've written them now? All right, go next one.
Listen, this is like open mic night. I'm testing stuff out here. If it doesn't land, it won't feature elsewhere in the videos. This is open mic night. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.